Hi guys and welcome, gnembon here. In this video we'll look into Nether portals as of 1.16.3 and show 5 cool new tricks you can do with them. What prodded me to look into that was last time I have said a janky portal setup may mess up a portal linkage for up to 128 blocks in the Nether and up to 1000 blocks in the overworld if you'd done it the other way around. And some of you told me that shouldn't be possible. And actually you were right. So let me explain. Technically, the most appropriate and the best type of linking is when the portals in corresponding dimensions match exactly, meaning x and z coordinates of the overworld portals are 8 times of those in the Nether, and their y levels match exactly. This means that we can always correctly link portals that are even really close to each other without issues with linking. However, this is very common for players to build portals networks where portals in the overworld are scattered freely across the places of interest, and in the Nether everything is located on the same Y level, typically right above or right below the Nether ceiling. This makes so that regardless of where the portals are located in the overworld, they should always link up with the proper portal at the top of the Nether, and if they are not too close to each other or at similar Y levels, you would be able to connect properly back to them even if they are quite close. However, this system is very problematic in situations where you need, for whatever reason, create another portal in the Nether that is located at a vastly different Y level than your network. And if there are portals in the overworld on the similar level within 128 blocks Nether distance, which is more than 1000 blocks in the overworld, they will be linking up with the wrong portal. And that's how it worked up until 1.15 or something like that. So let me show you on a real example how this works out. This is my single player world, still 1.12, where I have the Nether network right below the bedrock, and one of these portals here I have is to my mining area. The linking there is not a problem. The thing is, the portal in the overworld side is right at the best mining level, which is Y10. And since I installed a contraption that keeps the Nether mob switch going and the world ticking by throwing items back and forth at spawn, this portal no longer links up with the Nether hub, but with the portal low in the Nether that pings back the beacon. This means that when I go through it again, we have actually warped 700 blocks from my mine to spawn. And that's not how we wanted it to do, and that's how it worked up until 1.14 or something like that. Since then, portals have received changes and rewrites to the point that there is nothing left from the previous portal implementation. Everything just by chance behaves similarly or is completely new. First thing that changed is portal caching and portal lag. It used to be that every time you would use a portal, that would need to scan a 16 million block area in the other end looking for portals that could be a match. That not only resulted in tremendous lag it was causing, but also remembered that connection for 15 seconds, meaning that that connection was kept and was being used even if the portal was already gone. Now, since then, portals belong to the point of interest system. This is a parallel storage for interesting blocks made so that searching for these special blocks is way cheaper than going through the entire chunks. This means that portal links can be calculated on the fly every time an entity goes through. What is interesting now is that if there is no valid connection and the game needs to create a new portal, only players can cause that event to happen. Other entities are just simply getting stuck until the player forces the new portal to appear. Portal caching may be gone, but what we have got instead is portal chunk loading. So going through a portal now creates 3x3, 5x7x27 area loaded on the other side for 15 full seconds. I have another video explaining what this means, but in short, it's really good to have it, and I'll take that over portal caching any day. Does this mean that the portals are now lag-free? I mean, large and dense groups of portal blocks, like in case of large overworld pigment gold farm, can cause thousands or even hundreds of thousands of such points of interest to be created, which means that the game still needs to compute the closest portal looking at all of these blocks, which will cause lag spikes, especially for whatever reason when the player goes through. This, however, could have been easily remedied because since only now the bottom blocks in the portals are even considered for teleportation, if we remove other points of interest from these portals, leaving only those at the bottom of them, this would reduce the lag I was talking about pretty much to zero, leaving the portal mechanics pretty much unchanged. Just something to think about. Another mechanic that unfortunately is a goner was the ability to customize what was the front of the portal and what was the back of it. Entities thrown into the portal from the front of it would always be ejected away from the portal, while the entities thrown from the behind would be thrown into the behind of the portal on the other end. And to determine what was the front and what was the back of the portal, the game was simply counting air blocks on both sides of the portal. That was a very useful but lesser known mechanic that was allowing to fully customize how you would leave the portal regardless of its position. This mechanic now is completely gone if the two portals are created with the same orientation, so X or the Z plane, entity's direction doesn't change at all. We just exit how we enter the portal direction-wise. And in case of the portals that are perpendicular to each other, the game will spin up 90 degrees every time we try to go through a portal, meaning that for the things like chunk loaders, we need to keep the proper orientation of the portals, otherwise we may run into some troubles. Next important change was the removal of a bug causing players and other entities to suffocate inside Obsidian when going through the portals. The thing is, the game tries to position us in the exit portal proportionally to where we've entered the first portal, which with the portals with the same size, this never is a problem, but if you consider a very tall portal linked with a very wide portal, going through the top of it would position us proportionally in the top part of the obsidian frame, and going on the edge of the wide portal would suffocate us on the side pillar of the narrow portal. This is thankfully now corrected. Entity's position is adjusted when exiting in the portal, so we don't end up in obsidian. But the most significant difference in the new portal linking, albeit not really that dramatic comparing to the quote-unquote the old one, is the area where portal blocks are being searched for. When traveling in the overworld, the game does queries a rectilinear area that's 257 blocks across and at all Y levels in the search of the portal blocks, and that's roughly where it was before. And within that, it finds the closest portal. However, when traveling into the Nether, the search box is only 16 blocks away from the equivalent overworld portal position. And that makes sense. These 16 blocks is what 128 blocks out area corresponds in the overworld. But this means that the crazy broken links that we have seen from the olden days should be gone. We can only manipulate portals that link up within this small area, and everything outside of this box is not even considered. And that distance is not really that far, meaning we can come up with some really interesting setups to control it. Portal size is still maximum of 21 by 21, meaning that if we have a large portal in the Nether, it may even link up to several different portals in the overworld. One quite important thing about portal linking is the fact that when we go through, what matters is the rounded block position of our current exact location in the other dimension, meaning that while in the Nether that can give us 64 different positions within the same block, and even when we stand within the same block can be really important. In the overworld though, each 8 by 8 by 1 area corresponds to just one possible link in the Nether side. On top of that, the location of the portal that we use doesn't actually matter at all. It's our position what matters, meaning that we can get teleported considering not only the portal locations but all the blocks in front and behind it, providing we are at least touching the portal block. And we actually use this feature in some of our portal tricks. To help us see the links in the other dimension, I made an addition to the overlay app that's definitely worth checking out. The overlay app is built into Scarpet, and it was initially used to overlay some structure information, but now we can overlay also the actual portal linkage. What we have just seen is the portal coordinates overlay. In the overworld, that shows the portal areas corresponding to a particular location in the Nether being the perfect match for this location, and that should give us a good indication where to build a portal or target the specific Nether coordinate. But if you go into the Nether, since here one block is 64 different portal locations, we have a single indicator resolving for us the overall position column by column depending where we are looking at. And that's not all. With portal links, we will be also scanning the other dimension for valid existing portal teleport locations, showing us which links, if any, is the closest currently in that range. And this can be really helpful in debugging the issues with portals, since we are still seeing all other teleport locations we didn't win as well. Similarly to coordinate display in the Nether, what matters is the exact point on the face of the block we are looking at, since links in the Nether can swap rather drastically with small changes in the teleport location. However, in the overworld, the similar things happen. In this case, we have just full 8x8 area resolution unit here, so links to corresponding nether portals are displayed based off of the player position and are just jetting out from the player, meaning that the best viewing for them would be in one of the third-person views. So let's look at some tricks you can pull off with the new portals. To show them somewhat better, since creative players have only one tick portal delay to go through the portal, which is not what is realistic since survival players need to stay for 4 seconds to get teleported, I'll be using here portal creative delay, which allows me to change that creative amount. Let's change it to 20 ticks, so we are still realistic, but it'll cut down on some nausea. The first set of tricks I would like to show you deals with player direction. You see, in this game we can move players around with pistons, water, entities, gravity, but one thing that we can't really change easily is player viewing direction without player doing it explicitly with their mouse. So let's say we have a contraption where we need to turn the player around to do something else on their way back. Normally that's not possible, but you can do that with portals. It would have been so much easier before when you could simply change the direction of the portals by placing blocks in the back or the front of it, but even now it's still possible. In the first example, we'll turn the player around. In the overworld, we have a portal that we would walk into it that put us in the Nether with 2 portals positioned on the other axis. So in the overworld, the portal would look like this. And now here we have 2 rotated by 90 degrees. We'll enter the Nether in one of those and walk into the other. I put here a few honey blocks because we need to leave fully the first portal and stay outside for a short time for game to reset our portal timer, but we could use other slowing methods as well, like soul sand or spacing the portals even a little bit more. And now when we enter the other portals, we'll get rotated that second time, which would put us in the opposite direction where we came through. So let me show that again smoothly so we can see how this would look like without breaks. Pretty cool and useful stuff. Another setup we have here will rotate the player, essentially turning it right. In this case, we have a portal with a boat in it that will push us away from it when we came back from it. The thing is, if we are positioned perfectly and walking forward, if we turn right, that would put us in the portal facing the frame. So we will need some external factors to push us away. And we can do that with a boat with some mob in it. I just put here a chicken, and the cow here just ended up here by accident, just spawned on its own on the grass and walked into the boat somehow. It's not a big deal. In the Nether we have one portal that's on the same axis as the overworld one, that will just not change our direction, and then we need to push ourselves into sideways facing portals to bring us sideways into the overworld. That will turn us in the overworld, and because of the boat that goes right up to the edge of the block, will push us away onto the path. And let's repeat that with normal speed. We'll walk into the boat first and then turn around, and we are off. 2 important things to know: that we are entering this portal on the right because we need to leave the portal before getting into another. And if you would use the left block, that would be possible to walk directly into a perpendicular portal in the Nether. That would lock us up. And the second thing, for the same reason, the pistons here in the Nether to push the player are on a bit of a delay to allow us properly leave the first portal before entering the new one. Another trick I would like to show here today is a double hidden treasure room. You heard that right, not a single but double. Let me show you first how it works. So first of all, we have this normally looking portal. If we go through, this leads to a normally looking Nether portal, and if we try to go back, we are back where we started. Suspicious? Not really. However, if we open up the space behind the portal and enter it being on these 2 blocks, we end up in our secret diamond stash room. Good so far. Going back unfortunately leads us to a different portal somewhere in the cave, but with a water column you can quickly get out onto the surface. I mean, this makes sense, a secret room will have some secret exit. However, that's not all. So let's go back to the diamond room again, entering through the back of the portal. And here we also have a suspicious block, and if you power this one and exit through the back of the diamond portal, we'll end up in our secret room where all our netherite goodies are, since netherite is now the new diamond. And here we can browse all the chests and all the stuff, and just going back leads us back to our normal portal in the Nether. From there we can just go back home again. So how does it work? We have a little diagram over here. Our main overworld portal is in the Nether equivalent of x2 coordinate, and we'll be doing all of this on the Z plane, so it's easier to see it. From this portal we can only see this main Nether portal, which is at x18. So it's exactly 16 blocks away, which is our maximum portal reach. So whenever we go through here, we'll end up in that Crimson Forest portal. Going back, this portal sees all the 3 portals in the overworld we have here, the cave exit and the netherite room, but the main one is the closest, so you get teleported there. So there is nothing suspicious about it. Now, if we open the back of this portal, now the back side belongs to a different nether coordinate, which is x3. And you cannot just walk into from this direction, we have to actually stand behind the portal when it links us up. And you can also see that by confirming that this back here of the portal is on the side of the cell in our coordinate visualize tool. This means that if we enter through the back, suddenly the diamond portal, which is at x19, is also in the range, and since it's on the same y coordinate despite being 1 block further, is actually closer. And that's great. This means that we are here done with it. However, if we exit it, we're exiting through the Nether x19 coordinate, which means that we won't be able to see the main portal, therefore we have created that portal in the cave below. That's a little further than the main one, but since now this one is the closest one in range, we'll get teleported there instead. And this is all fine, but since we made this one moved just 1 block further and the matching portal we have still at the maximum range from the diamond nether room, if we enter the diamond portal standing at x20, so from the back of it, we won't be seeing the main overworld portal nor the cave one, and the only remaining portal in reach will be this one, high in the sky with our netherite goods, which is technically always in reach for all those portals, but it's always a little bit too far comparing to the other ones. And that's where we'll end up. Now, leaving this double hidden room, we'll go back into the closest nether portal, which is the one in the Crimson Forest, and that's how we can close the cycle. So that'll be it. Now, hidden rooms are cool and all, but they're not really that practical. What would be practical is a fast elevator. And it's actually a very easy thing to do with nether portals that goes just one way, which is actually not that good. But I'll show you how you can build a fully functional up and down elevator for both dimensions at the same time, and that's actually super useful. In this case, let's start with the diagram, since there is nothing hidden about this setup, and it's better to explain it how we put it together and then demo it. So the block positions here, at least on the x-axis, are accurate here for the nether, and the overworld one of these represent obviously 8 times the number of blocks. And these 2 workstations in the middle represent the overworld bottom and top stations, and both span total 16 overall blocks, so 2 blocks in the nether, as you'll need to access the 2 nether x coordinates for the proper linkage. However, the top and the bottom are not exactly aligned but offset by 8 overall blocks, so technically it's not a proper tower, more like a pizza tower connecting these 2. The side stations will be in the nether and they need to be spread across 30 blocks. This is not a perfect alignment either, but I wouldn't expect you would build a building and an elevator like joining one to another, but you would do it entirely wirelessly. The portals in the nether are always sideways, also occupying 2 nether portal coordinates, as you can pick up here. One thing important to note is that distance between the bottom and the top one can be anything as long as more than 16 blocks, but I would assume you would want to build the system to get all the way to 250 blocks, so that shouldn't be an issue. In the overworld, this portal column over here in the middle is the only place where you can see actually both edges of those 2 portals, meaning that when you enter over here, we end up top, and if you enter over here at the bottom, we'll end up at the closest portal, which is up here at the bottom of the nether. However, if you move 1 block over to here, then that portal at the top of the nether falls outside of our link range, and the only portal to link up is the one at the bottom, giving us an instant teleportation from the top of the world to the bottom of the nether. Pretty sweet. Conversely, if you take out the outer portal at the bottom, the closest nether portal is now out of the range, and the only portal linked we have now is at the top of the nether, and that's where we'll end up going. And that's what covers all the possible cases of travel from the overworld: up, up, down, down, up, down, and down, up. Now, when you are in the nether, if you look at this particular portal block, this one sees this entire column of blocks and portals, meaning that when we enter, we'll have a chance of choosing the closest one, which is at the top. However, if we use the outside block, this entire column falls out of the radar, out of the range, and the only portal available will be this one at the bottom, linking top of the Nether with the bottom of the overworld. Similarly, at the bottom is the same situation. This block sees this entire column linking up with the bottom of the overworld station, and this one only sees the portion of the top of the Nether portal, giving us all combinations of travel. One important note is that when you are entering roughly in the middle but still close to the side of the block, in order for this one to see exit locations in the overworld, where it is a precise 128 blocks away, there needs to be a portal close to this edge of the block to catch it, meaning that either we'll have to have a very large or 16 blocks wide portal or some extra flank portals to catch these connections. We can also use these side portals exclusively for travel, but their mission is just to capture pixel perfect teleports through the middle of the block here. We'll see that how it looks up in the real world. One word of warning with such tight portal linkage is that you cannot have any other portals in the range that can cause some interference, which in the Nether means no other portals within this 32 by 32 blocks wide column, which is not too bad, to be honest. 32 blocks is not bad, but in the overworld that's actually 256 blocks, so that's quite a big area. Otherwise, some portals could link up with the wrong ones, but all in all, as a fast Nether travel and as a portal hub, this is a cool and practical idea. So let's see how this would work in practice. So we are here at the top of the overworld in our station, and this one, as I was explaining, could consist of just one large 16 blocks wide portal, or if we don't want to, we can use just these two flank portals, or like I did it with a small portal in the middle, so we can use this aesthetically to get in and out, up and down. And if you look at our app, we can just see the links that form when we are on the left side of the boundary. The only Nether portal that we can see is the one at the bottom of the Nether, and if we cross this line over here, we can now see both portals. Just this one is now a little bit closer. So if we now go to the Nether, we can see that in the middle of these two blocks, on the right hand side, we can see only two portals that are at the bottom of the world, and if you cross over this block, now the new one appears that's actually closer, which is up top, meaning that this line is here now the boundary between the top portal and the bottom portal. And as you can see, this is actually very easy to go down to the overworld. Down to the Nether, we can use either this portal or the left section of the middle portal. Or if we had one large 16 blocks wide portal, as I was saying, doesn't really matter. But that's cute, and that the small one, as we can see, this side links with the top and this one links with the bottom. It's up to you how you organize this one. And we're here in the bottom of the Nether. Let's go to the top of the overworld. As is explained, the bottom section is right below, just shifted by 8 blocks. So you can hop instead. And to get to the top of it, we can either go to the top of the Nether first, like so, and then to the top of the overworld. So let's hop again. We can also go through the bottom of the Nether as well, so the other route. Like so. There's one more trick I wanted to show you, that you can actually disable portals completely. It's a proper portal, all obsidian blocks, air in the middle, no tricks, I promise. And this is new 1.16 feature, and it just simply doesn't work. I can try with direct redstone using dispenser and flint and steel, and it doesn't work either. And you might be guessing, gnembon, you just modded that in. And I would say no, that's actually vanilla. I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments to guess how this can be done, that the portals just don't work. I don't know what you would use this for. I know if you are a server admin, playing without portals might have some benefits, so it's not that important, but the question is how this happens, and I'll let you guys guess it. And that will be it for today. A new Nether portals explained as of 1.16.3, very different than they were before, with a few cool tricks you can pull off with them. Some of them practical, like the elevator or the AFK player turnarounder, and some of them mostly for fun, like the double hidden secret room or disabling the portals completely. So if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, don't forget to leave me a like, leave me your guess in the comments down below how I disable the portals altogether, but this time it should work, yeah? Oh, right on. So why the other one didn't work? Interesting. So I'll be looking through your comments and see if someone has a good guess. See you in the next one. Bye bye.